Good morning, my outstanding friends. Happy New Year. Hi, Rex. How are you? This is Roger from Mudfossil University. I discovered mud fossils. I was the first one in the world to discover them. And I had DNA tests done, CAT scans, all that stuff done. And I verified the mud fossils are from ancient creatures that petrified. And I believe they petrified due to a great hot water flood, which Velikovsky recorded from every culture on the world. They reported the same thing. Venus approached Earth for 7 days, and it was so brilliant and bright and hot that it really literally boiled the oceans and fractured the Earth and caused the depths of the Earth to erupt. Exactly what it says in the Bible. It says after 7 days, the depths of the oceans all boiled up and caused the water to flood the earth, the deluge. And I believe that's all true now, but I can't obviously prove that. But I am trying to give the supporting evidence. And I was, they're talking about a roundtable about mud fossils. I'm the discoverer of mud fossils, and I was on this, and they threw me off because they couldn't stand up to my evidence. And this was the kind of arguments I was getting. It was absolutely stunning. But I've been doing this 10 years, and I know the kind of minds that I'm up against now. And these are the kind of minds. Now, let's just go in to see what Rex has to say and what his speaker, Diamond, has to say. They won't use my name, and they won't allow my name to be seen or heard. But I know he's getting a lot of flack, and I'm sorry, Rex, but, I got to be honest with you, buddy, you deserve it. Now, I just want to say one thing, and I feel kind of bad about this because my good friend, Ralph Castaldo, is good friends with Rex. And they have been for years, and I probably mentioned this later in the video, I can't remember, but I feel bad that this has brought some discourse between the two of them, and I don't want that. So I'll stay out of whatever it is, but I do want to address the issues that I feel I was misrepresented. Let's just put it that way. And I would love to re-engage, and I can be very respectful. So let's just go on and see what you think. Okay, we'll look at the DNA reports in a minute. This is the one I took the blood out of and sent off for the DNA. And I took it out of here. I drilled a hole up inside there where it's very red, and I just did a video showing exactly how I did it. This one here, it solidified in a different manner. Okay, some of them turn into literally mud. Some of them turn into literally almost like glass, opals and so forth. And some turn into, like this one here, is almost perfect. That's the fascia pleura of the lung. It's the coating of the lung. And even, I mean, there's just no question if you look at it and understand what you're looking at. I mean, I worked with some of the top anatomists in the world. It's just obvious. It's incredible that this guy has no clue about biology and chemistry and all the other things that he seems to feel he does. I'm not trying to belittle anybody, but he was very, very nasty to me. And then they knocked me off the show, and it was about mud fossils. I'm the one that discovered it. I wrote the book about how people like him are causing so much trouble with reality. Now, this is the blood that came out of these little red spots. Now, I show this in my other new video, too, that I just put up. This goes back 10 years or so, and that was the blood spots that came out. Immediately after I dried off the rock from taking it in, they just percolate out of there. And then once they harden up, they call it oxidation. You can't get any more blood out of it. But this happened right after. Now, you see all these little holes and these little circles all over? That's what these are. They're alveoli. They're lungs. And I mean, I have a ton of this stuff. And let me show you one more to show you that they can do this. I'll show you the inside of one. Okay, this is a lung, but a geologist would call this a concretion because they see all these little, oh yeah, they're just all glued together. Well, no, it didn't. This is a lung, and inside is the anatomy of a lung. And all the blood is in there too. There's a ton of blood in this thing. See it? If you can't see that, I don't know how to help anybody like Diamond. I mean, he's just so set against this fact. He says there's never been any blood found ever. It's insanity. I mean, I have blood gushing out of these things, literally. I mean, it's unbelievable. But, you know, again, I don't want to belittle anybody. I just want to discuss it. But as soon as you discuss it with evidence like I'm presenting, they say, oh, that's not evidence. There's no evidence. Wait till you hear what they had to say. What Rex had to say. I was taken aback this morning. I got to be honest with you. Because, you know, they knocked me off the show. So I never saw this part. And my friend Ra went back on the show, and they beat him up. So, you know, what can I say? It's they're just not trying to deal with reality. So if they want to have a roundtable discussion and omit the discoverer and the researcher that did this for 10 years, which is me, then, you know, then there's no roundtable discussion. That's the kind of academic attitude that they have. Don't let anybody talk that we don't want to talk. That's what peer review is all about. And that's why I've been railing against academia. And as my last video I put up, I think there's a class action lawsuit absolutely can be leveled against certainly Yale and Harvard. You know, I debated with them, you know, talked with them, and they would not allow to be seen the evidence. They just wouldn't want to allow it. Now, is that a fiduciary, you know, a duty fulfiller? No. Their fiduciary duty is to their students to teach them truth. And if they avoid the truth because it negates the things that they're saying, then it's actually a legal issue. So I'm hoping this will go into the legal realm shortly, but we'll have to see. I'm not involved in it. I don't care anymore. I'm done. I'm done arguing. This guy, I don't care. Rex, that's fine. Feel however you want to feel. But if you really want to look for truth, you're going to have to involve me. Now, I'll put a link to this DNA report. It's online, and it was from Helix Biolabs, and this was 6 years ago. And it was very well done, and they stand behind the report. I talked to the lab director there, and he says, yes, we stand behind the report, but make it absolutely certain that everyone understands I, Roger Spur, the customer, took the samples and sent them to the lab. So if I lied, then I'm just a liar. Well, that's not the case. I did not lie. I extracted them, as I showed in my other video, and I've shown it so many times, it's just boring now. And there was 3 samples. One of them was that lung, right? The lung, and the one I showed you, that lung. And 2 of them were giants, and I mean giant. And here was the results. And again, this will be online, so I'm not going to go over every little detail here. They took all kinds of whatever they do, and that's what oh, he doesn't even know what they do. Well, how do I know what they do? That's insanity. I know what they came out with for the result, and they said there was excellent quality DNA sequence was obtained for the 36-inch and the lung. What more do I have to tell you? You want to read the report? Have a nice time. That's fine. And here's the analysis of the chromatograms. All right, so if you want to go and read it, that's good. There'll be a link to it. Now, this I presented saying, here's what the lung had. He's saying, I have no evidence whatsoever. And let me show you the 2 giants. This is what's killing me. Okay, this is the 36-inch fingertip that's also on the report. Excellent quality DNA. That right there is the fingernail. That's the pad that bumps up against the next bone so that it doesn't crush each other. I took a piece off of here which was from the fingerprint, and underneath, and then I drilled into the fingertip itself and got blood out of there in an artery. And here was the fingerprint. There it is right there. That's the fingerprints. The same, you see the sweat pores here? Sweat pores. That's what these are, sweat pores. And this is one ridge of a fingerprint, just like you have your fingerprint ridges on you. That's one, it's the width of my thumb. And that came off of that fingertip that I just showed you. And this, again, is on the DNA report. So, and then, and he says, oh, they just look like this, they just look, well, they're backed up by DNA reports, and anatomists, and just common sense. If you can't see that and you don't know what a fingertip looks like, I don't know. I don't know what to say in this particular situation when you can just deny things are real. Now, a mind like that, it has a real problem dealing with everything really in their life. I find it very hard to believe that somebody could see this stuff and just discount it so quickly, instantaneously, and not understand after being shown the evidence. So, it's up to, I don't care whose mind works in which way it works, but, I've been fighting this fight for a very long time. Let me just show you what I wrote, 5, 6, 7 years ago it was. I made a book about this kind of a mindset. All right, I wrote this book about Velikovsky, and he wrote Worlds in Collision and was destroyed by academia. I wrote Minds in Collision, and that's the problem. It's the minds. It's not the truth of the thing. They just can't accept the truth because of the broken minds in academia. It's called menticide. Look it up. Menticide will explain exactly to you. Now, again, I didn't want any money for this. I just wanted Velikovsky to be vindicated, and he is. He is absolutely vindicated by Mudfossils. All right, so that's, and like I say, I don't get any money for this. I couldn't care less about the money. I just want Velikovsky to be vindicated, and I want my work to be vindicated. I discovered Mudfossils, and they won't let me on the round table. That doesn't make any sense. This is the other one I had. This is a left human hand. You lay your hand back like that. You have that tendon. You have your bumper pad around here. This is the grip skin, which is peeling off. This silvery stuff. It's a different skin than you have on the rest of your body. It's very tough. And I have the fingers, and again, this was DNA tested. Now, the funny thing was, I was on this show hoping to confront Scott Walter about this head. Supposedly, I guess Rex is a friend of Scott Walter's. I don't know, Scott Walter wasn't available, or he didn't want to show up, whatever. But he claimed within 20 seconds of seeing this on TV that this wasn't just carved. And then this Diamond guy did the same thing. Oh, it's just carved, you're just crazy guy. I said, well, I don't think so, my friend. And then again, he says, oh, just iron oxide. Well, blood is iron. Red blood is ferrous oxides, FeO3. It's got the 3 oxygens, and then your O2 brings you down to the black state, which is the deoxygenated, just like I showed you in that really deteriorated lung that you could see all the tubing and everything, exact same stuff. Now, this is what's called feldspar, and feldspar is the product of collagen breakdown. And this nose is exactly what happened when somebody stepped on a guy's nose and splayed the flesh away from the cartilage. That cartilage right here is where the muscles invest into the cartilage of your nose. Your muscles, you can flare your nose. You just work your nose a little bit, and you can find you can work your nose around because you've got muscles running all over. I'll show you in the Anatomical, it'll be better. But they implant themselves right across the cartilage. You can wiggle your cartilage, and nobody carved that. I mean, this is insanity to think that. And this is a cap that's on the guy's head. And this is a weave. You see this weave here, and weaved here, weaved here, weaved here. Somebody who knows how to knit would understand what this. I don't know how to knit, but my wife does. Now, up in here, Jim said he could take a playing card, slide it right up underneath the guy's cap. Now, I've never touched his head. I don't have to, because I can tell, because I understand chemistry, I understand anatomy, I understand biology, I understand the ferrous oxides, I understand nucleophilic substitution, and I understand Mudfossils because I discovered them. And if I'm not included in the round table, it's meaningless, absolutely meaningless. And to just dismiss this within the same thing Diamond did, exactly like Scott Walter did, that is the mindset of these kind of people that think they're just too smart to speak about anything that they don't want to speak about. And that's when you become stupid. It really is. It's when you can be smart and listen. And then you become smarter. But if you're smart and you just won't listen to anybody, you become stupid because all you are is wrapped in your own little mind. And that's what's happened. It's stunning what's happened to the mindset of people that are in academia. It's just absolutely stunning. I've been 10 years on this. I've been tried to Yale and Harvard. I even went to Johns Hopkins and took genomics to try to get the professor to look at this. He went insane. It's a crazy world. And it's not getting any better. You know, and again, I don't really care what anybody believes at this point. I'm just done worrying about it. So I'm just going to go on my way and keep presenting my evidence. And people see it, they see it, they don't, they don't. So let me just show you what Rex had to say, and then you make your own decisions. All right, you can see on the skeletal pictures there, there's cartilage coming off of the bony material. Okay, you see that whitish looking stuff, that's the cartilage. You have the same thing on your nose. If you pinch the flesh on your nose, you can feel the cartilage underneath. This right here is where the nasal muscles attach, you see it? Exactly what I showed you on the head from the Scott Walter affair. And, you know, that's the problem. They don't understand the anatomy, they don't understand the physiology, really, and chemistry, all that stuff. They've been trained as a geologist to just accept what they were told and discount everything else and run away quickly. And that's what's happened. 20 seconds it took them on TV to discount Jim's head after a lot of research. And that was just not right. And I was hoping to confront Scott Walter, and instead I got Diamond, and he just let after me like, you know, just went crazy. And there was no talking to him, so you know, they threw me off anyway. But I'm going to just have to address it in this way. And you should respond and say, Rex, what's going on? Why'd you guys do this? Are you really interested in the truth? I mean, if he has a good channel, he has a lot of subscribers. So I imagine they think he's reliable, and I'd just like to have him be reliable, and I'll work to maintain that. But to throw me off, and then I hope he's not upset at Ra, because, you know, I've been working with Ra quite a bit. And I think Ra understands the things I've been showing. And I have the support. It's not, you know, the things he said just aren't true. It's not true. That saying that he has no support. He has nothing. He can't show anything, and he's making all these claims. That's just not true. My claims are completely validated by the things I showed. Okay, so back to the round table omitting Roger, the discoverer of mud fossils. Now, let me set this up for you. This is my friend Ra. He and I are hopefully going to have a show about discussion of new discoveries. It's going to be called Science, Discovery, Discussion, and Debate. And that's what we want to do, is discuss and debate. Like these roundtable things. Only we're going to do it with the world. I want experts in many fields, because this particular guy, Diamond, he seems like, I don't have any problem with him. Everybody can do and feel however they want to do and feel. However, if you have a specific, really vehement point of view that just does not allow for any discussion, then there's no debate. So what we need to do is be able to have a whole series of experts, which I do. I have a whole slew of them at my disposal. Now, most of them will not come on line and be seen because of this very situation. This happened to me, it happened to Velikovsky, it happened to everyone that came forward with information. Ra is being kind of brave, coming out and speaking this way. And he was sticking up for his friend Rex to me, and Ron and I had a little bit of a discussion about that. It wasn't real cordial. You know, it ended up being basically a shouting match. You know, I mean, everybody's got emotions. He's trying to stick up for his friend, and I'm saying, this is crazy. What is it you're missing? So anyway, we sort of had a little bit of a bout. I hope that's going to be over and we'll be able to do this show. Now, I'm just going to cut right into here. Well, Ra, I think he's sticking up for me at this point, and then they come in and just make all kinds of statements that just are not true. Now listen, here goes.
Let me finish. The fossilized bones if you cut them in cross-section, have all of the components of what an actual bone would have. And they're not just shaped like a bone, made out of a rock that looks like a bone. Are you with me? When you actually cut them,
under certain conditions, do they ever become stone? That's what I'm trying to ask you, but you're not letting me ask you. Under certain conditions,
all fossils are stone.
Okay, so
all fossils.
So it is possible that some of these rocks could be giant body parts. Then
no, because the difference is that a fossil is a fossil.
Listen to this. This is his explanation of why it can't be. Because the difference is a fossil is a fossil. Listen, this is amazing. You know, it really is. It's getting to be very, very comical. Listen to this.
Fossil is a fossil, and something shaped like a fossil is a fantasy. Because the difference between a fossil and a fantasy is that one is shaped like a fossil and the other one is an actual fossil. And
he's a genius. It's an absolute genius. Okay, what our friends there don't understand is nucleophilic substitution, and neither did the biologists until just recently. It's a reaction where an invading pair of electron group particles in aqueous solutions invade and push out another group, which is called a leaving group. So you have here it is. It's known as bimolecular nucleophilic substitution, or as backside attack. They come in and push some out. It's a type of nucleophilic substitution where a lone pair from a nucleophilic attacks an electron-deficient electrophilic center and bonds to it, expelling another group called a leaving group. And now, when you're alive, this goes on continuously. Not a single molecule in your body is stable. You have continuous attack and leave. It comes in and says, okay, I'm bringing in some oxygen, all you carbon dioxides, get the hell out of here. I'm bringing in this, you go. I'm bringing in some sulfur, you zincs, get out of here. And this is the way it works. That is what happens in your body. Now, guys like Diamond there, apparently they don't understand a lot. He obviously has no clue about anatomy and biology, chemistry and physics and all that stuff. And just to say I'm a geologist and I know what I'm doing, it doesn't work anymore. You have to have all of this. Now, this is all brand new now. Look at this. This is 2021, 2019. Biological nucleophilic substitution reactions. Biological substitution reactions. This is brand new. They're starting to understand. This is how your body processes everything. You don't just consume things. You take things in and push things out. That's this. And when you die, you push things out and stabilize. And that's what is the transition metals. And they are, well, let me just show you something. Okay, these are the transition metals that are in blood. This is exactly what is in your blood, is these metals. And you see all these +2 and all these different states. That means those are oxidation states. That means that they can grab onto other molecules and move them around and discharge them. They transition, they transfer things through your body. When you die, your body still wants to transfer stuff, but it can't get out. If it can find the correct metals to attach to, it will become stable. And I'm going to show you something in a second that's going to shock the hell out of you. Now, just to prove that I have the ability to speak in this realm, this is 50 years ago. This was my paper that made me leave physics. I was in nuclear missiles in Nike Hercules missiles in the Army, 1968. And then I came out of the Army, and I was going to go into physics. And this was some of the original work I did. And I got to the point where I realized there was nothing correct. I came up to the fact that there is only two types of intermolecular forces, dipoles to dipoles. And then I came up with the fact that Bohr theory was wrong, Rutherford's atom was wrong, and that the transfer of energy is from light to atomic vapor. And I've shown this. And I can show you light particles are tiny little electrons back to back. And they turn into they are atomic vapor, and then they turn into nucleuses, which are the atomic nucleus, and then they turn into matter, which is we see as matter. I did this. I didn't just do it, stop there. I went against everybody in the world, and finally I said, these people just can't get it, and they're never going to get it, and you can't get through to these people, just like what we're doing now. It was frustrating as hell then, so I said, well, I'll just go on my own way, and I did. And I've still been studying ever since then. I have manuals and books, and, well, hold on one second. Now, I've been trying to teach everybody how to do their own research, and this is about everything. There's gravity, there's medicine, there's water to fuel in cars, different types of gases, Venus, 5G. I was going to do something, magnetism. Look at this now. I want to go into magnetism and teach people about magnetism, because electron flood theory changes everything. It says that everything is made from dipole electrons. So we're going to have to, did you know there's 5 types of magnetism? We need, and there's all kinds of things affect temperature, and all kinds of things affect the magnetism. We're going to go through all of it. And anyway, this is the way you want to do. Get free education. That's what I did. Mine's free. So I don't have a piece of paper like Diamond to say, oh, I got a piece of paper that says I read a bunch of stuff. Well, I read the stuff, and I have the actual, here's what gravity's all about. Let's talk about what gravity is. These are things that nobody knows about. They just absolutely have no idea. It's electron flood theory and how it works. Now, let's get past all this. I have the ability to speak in this realm, and I should be included. So if they want to keep me out, well, that's just their prerogative. So one way or the other, I will be heard. And it's just unfortunate. I don't want to belittle anyone. But to take the attitude that they took on Rex's show there was not, it was poor form. I thought I was very respectful, and I thought I was being very disrespected. So let's just go on. Let me show you more about this, because you see these colors? I said when you die, if they can find these to attach to become stable, they will. And guess what? I can show you that factually if someone would be able to think and listen and pay attention. Now you see this? That's a heart. Oh, Roger, you're crazy. That's not a heart. Well, let's see about that. What if I put all these different colors into here? What would it look like then? It would look like an opal, because it is an opal now, but it's a water opal. Okay, what you're looking at here is that water opal, and this is one of the clearest clear water opals I've ever seen. And there is very little flash of color. You might be able to pick one up here or there, but the transition metals are almost literally completely gone. And these form into spheres because they are almost always hearts. This is the cross section of a living, well, not living now, it's a heart cut across. This is the exact same architecture inside there, but now it's all filled up with silicates. Well, let me show you what would happen if the silicates weren't there, because it was stuck with all of its transition metals. Don't forget, you see the outline of the heart here, the ventricle walls and the aorta and all that business, and all the heartstrings and so forth. Let's go look at what an opal heart looks like. You see that? Remember all the ventricle walls and all the heartstrings? Remember all those colors? Every one of those colors represents one of these transition metals. All right? So what does that mean? That means that the tissues in your body have a certain chemistry, and they work with certain other molecules to give them, their nutrients and their energy sources and all of that. There's specific types of molecules that create specific types of fabrics and for your organs and so forth. And this is the ventricle walls. These are your aorta and so forth. And all of this different colors here, all these little bits and pieces are metals. And remember I showed you the transition metals. These are all the different colors. Now, why do you see all these little bits and pieces, all different colors just laying around here? Because this is where it was laying. This side was down. The metals in your blood, which is these metals, all these colors, collected at the bottom. This was the top. You see the top? The plasma in the blood, metals are heavier. We're talking about specific gravity. Specific gravity means the heavier the thing, the deeper it goes if it was settled out. That's why a lot of times they settle things and it separates this layer from that layer depending upon their specific gravities. And that's what's happened here. The metals have gone south and the plasma has come to the top. Now, look at something interesting here. This area here is not blue as like this area here. It's being invaded by green. Now, what the green is, I'm not sure, but I think it might be copper. Well, I can't make any statement whatsoever what it is. But all this stuff could be analyzed now because you still have the properties of the metals are in here. They're in there. It's just somebody has to look at this. Now, if you could say that's not a heart, then you just, oh, it just looks like a heart. No, it doesn't. And the transition metals don't just look like colors of transition metals, they're transition metals. And the fabric of the heart doesn't just look like it because it is what it is. And the heartstrings aren't just looking like it because they are. The aorta doesn't look like it because it's what it is. The metals don't look like them because that's what they are. That's everything is what it is. If you can just deny reality, then you're basically like the people that say the earth is flat. And then I say, no, look from the space station. They say there was no space station. And I say, well, I don't know what to say. What do you say when they just deny reality? And this is exactly, where do you hear what they had to say against my evidence? It was very, very distressing, but I was very respectful. And I had expected them to continue the conversation, but that didn't happen. So we're going to continue it ourselves. All right, I think I showed you this already, but the water opal is bluish-gray opal. Well, mine is literally as cleaned out as it can get. They have a gelatinous appearance, almost like jelly looking. A tiny little play of color, which mine I can see really, if I really dig, I can see. It's also sometimes called hyalite opal. It often occurs as globular. No, I already showed you this. All right, so I showed you the water opal, and mine is as clean as they get. I mean, they don't get any more washed out than that. Now, let's go back to Rex here. Hold on, here we go. Whoops. Oh, we're going to do this. The Mysteries of the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is like two and a half hours long. Plus, I got a whole bunch of other ones. And then we're going to go through Velikovsky. I got Velikovsky on the table here. After the deluge, many new forms of life. The end of the 7 days of light, the earth became enveloped in cosmic waters. We're going to go through all of that. This is just accidentally I hit that. Here's Rex here. All right, now, this is going back, and stick around for that. I mean, it won't be today, but we're going to go through a very deep understanding of these ancient texts. Because Mudfossils, who Roger Spur discovered and is not allowed to speak about them anywhere in the world anymore, it's just incredible. Anyway, it changed everything. It changed literally everything. Everything that you ever believed now is in question. And to dismiss it out of hand, as is the case and has been the case for 10 years, is just not acceptable anymore. So let's just try to, we're gonna have our own people that will bring this forward, and at some point it just will become no longer palatable, and people will stand up for themselves instead of, right now you're forced to say what your teachers say or they'll fail you. So you're in a position, you're helpless, and they are fiduciaries to you. They're supposed to be working in your interest, and they are not. So this is going to come to a legal situation, I think, very, very soon, but we'll find out about that. Now let's get back to Ra here, and like I say, he was sticking up, and he apparently likes Rex. They've been getting along for, I don't know, 6-7 years, he said, and he was kind of upset that, he's he feels like it's damaged his relationship with Rex. And I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case. I hope Rex will allow some discussion on this. And I can be very respectful. I really can. But I can be very disrespectful too. And after 10 years of being disrespected, you sort of drift to that side. No, let me listen to Ra again. He did a fabulous job. And I thank you, Ra. And I thank you, Rex, too. But I think it would be better to discuss this in an open way. However, hopefully Ra and I will be doing that on our own with a broad range of people, not just one-on-one. We want a whole batch of people, because I need chemists, I need geologists, I need biophysicists, biologists, geophysicists, I need astrophysicists, I need the whole line that have their specialists. And then we'll hit every one of them and say, right down the line, who can dispute this, who can dispute this, who can dispute that. And we will have what's called the feather of truth. And that means the holder of the feather speaks. Not just anybody can start jumping in. Oh, no, 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 no. That just doesn't work. You have to be the one that is designated as the holder of the feather of truth. As you hold that feather of truth, you speak what you feel is 100% certain truth to you. It may not be correct, but it at least is the truth to you. And then we can go forward, and then it goes to the next guy. So it's going to be the Feather of Truth series. All right, here goes Ra. Hold on a second. Okay, I'll try not to interrupt. Here we go.
Ra, all fossils are stone.
Okay, so
All
what's
fossils.
so it is possible that some of these rocks could be giant body parts, then?
No, because the difference is that a fossil is a fossil, and something shaped like a fossil is a fantasy. Because the difference between a fossil and a fantasy is that one is shaped like a fossil and the other one is an actual fossil. And the reason we know it's a fossil is because most of the time it has the complete morphology of the actual thing. Which, what I mean by that is if we go to petrified forest and get a petrified log and we cut it in the lab and we make a thin section and I look at it, and this is something from 150 million years ago. What I see inside are the
I have it right here. I have it right here.
Okay, go grab one. Yeah, do it.
So this is from the Arizona Petrified Forest.
Yeah, that's the main one. So if you were to cut that rock perpendicular to the length and look inside of it, what you're going to see is the actual cells, the xylem from the plant, from the tree. You're going to see it all preserved. What has happened is it went from a carbon-based product, wood, and it's been now transferred to silicon. So it's actually called silicified wood. Petrified wood is called silicified wood. So that and we know it's a fossil because when we study it in the lab, we cut it 4 microns thin, we look through it, and it has the same cells. We can see the plant cells, we can see the cell wall, we can see the xylem, the phylum, and the bark, and everything. Now, a mud fossil is not a fossil. It's something that looks like or is shaped like something that someone thinks is a fossil, but it's just a rock, typically a homogeneous rock with a lithology like limestone or sandstone. Now, and that's just a rock.
I just want to interrupt for 1 second. Almost all mud fossils, the exterior of them is going to be what they call feldspar or sandstone. And it does have some silicates in it, and it's called aluminosilicates, basically. There's aluminum in here, which is very rare. In your body, you don't have aluminum binding to your biology. It only binds to the biology after you die because it's so invasive. It goes this way and it goes that way. Aluminum is one of the things that if you soak aluminum in acids, it'll dissolve. If you soak aluminum in salts, it'll dissolve. It's only one of the only basic things that does that. Well, I'm not saying the only one, but there's very few. Now, this is the pattern of the feathers. Now, what you look in here, he's talking about basalt. Well, this is basalt, but that's because it's blood and tissue, all basalted and solidified. That's the thing's neck. This right here is the artery. And we could get blood out of there, and it could be tested. If somebody wants to get it tested, I can clean this all up good, drill down here through the artery, get down inside, and get some very good quality DNA out of here. It'll be excellent quality. It's still all in here. It just gets stuck in there because of the way it petrified. Now, he's talking about wood. I mean, I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of woodness in there. You know, maybe he can see it and he cuts it up a micron thick or something. But I tell you what, I can see blood cells. I have, you know, I have all the same stuff they have in the labs. I'm no fool. This is a very, very high quality microscope. And I can see the same stuff as all of them. All right? And I'm looking at Himalayan salt. You see the Himalayan salt there? You see the red spots? That's blood. That's from Himalayan salt. This is from the mud fossils, from right out of the blood. Now, I did a study on blood to see if I could see the cells being bigger in the giants. You see, using that microscope there, I got to be honest with you, I couldn't see the cells being bigger. I thought they would be, as everything, they would be bigger, but that's a possibility. It's still a possibility. I got so sidetracked, I finally actually don't use that microscope hardly at all. This is the one I use all the time now. This one's fabulous. This is a Celestron. Now, somebody asked about these, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. I got one over here. Oops. I never even took it out of the box. I just wanted to see. And I think this was only like 10 bucks, 15 bucks, something like that. It's a little tiny microscope. It's the same, it's almost identical to that. And this says it has 1,000 power. Now mine's only 200, but this is a very good quality. Celestron makes a good one. Now I don't know, I really don't know if this is any good or not, but that's what you get. It's just the same thing. You got your little dial, you got a stand. There's a little light in there, USB cable. And you could put it into your laptop anyway, I guess into the phones. You go out and take these pictures on site. So you can go out and see, find the mud fossils like this. And he's talking about this and that. I'm going to do a video on everything that he objected to. And here's the list. Hold on. All right, here we go. See, I'm getting ready to do the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi text. That's going to be the next thing we're coming up with after we finish off with Rex. Now, the thing with the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi text, they were found right after World War II, where they tried to exterminate the Jews. 2 stashes of apocryphal texts 2,000 years ago were hidden, and all of a sudden they come out the same year and a year or two after. They're trying to wipe the Jews off the face of the planet. Does that make sense to you? I think there's more to the story here, and we're going to find out. But anyway, these are for Rex and his leak project and Diamond here. Like I said, we need more than just Diamond, his opinions, because his opinions are not supported by anything factual. We need biologists, anthropologists, geologists, anatomists, chemists, physicists, astrophysicists, people that do DNA. We need to explain, and I will explain, the flood and how Velikovsky talked about almost being impacted with Earth, boiling the waters, and that's, I believe, what made the mud fossils preserve in the manner they did. The skies combusted. And this is all written, if you read Velikovsky, and he's the one that did the research, and we'll be going through that. Okay, so, and I apologize for the things that I am saying. They are jarring to anyone who feels extremely educated, like apparently Diamond feels he's extremely well educated, and this is like an affront to him. I understand that, but I think with a little bit of retrospect, maybe he can come around to discussing this in the kind of manner I just discussed. Now, these were worldwide eyewitness accounts. Everywhere had the same story. And I believe they were all parboiled in the waters as they boiled as the Venus approached Earth for 7 days of extreme heat. And after the floods were receded and everything, they just dried in many different pHs. And you saw that heart. The heart was like full of colors. This one isn't. And the same thing here. You could have all kinds of different preservations depending upon the pH, the transition metals, the chemistry, whether it was near a heart or a kidney or near bile, so forth. All have different chemistry. And these are the things that, if you don't understand this, you're out of the ballpark. You're not in the same league. Now, I also said that all these things I found here, basically all on the surface. I didn't really dig for anything hardly at all. Maybe just very shallow digging, nothing much. Now, I also said there was blood on my counter. Well, there was blood coming out of the rock. Who cares if it was on a counter or not? I made it sound like there's blood flowing everywhere. You know, I exaggerated a little bit. Yes, I want to stir things up a little bit, and obviously I did. And then, of course, the vagina. We're going to be getting into that one. Tendon balls, we got them coming out of our earlobes. We're going to get into that, which are these gigantic balls they find all over the earth that are tendon balls. They're in us, you got to use a microscope to see them. In these things, some of them are bigger than houses. We're going to be getting into the dragon and the fish. We'll be looking a little more on that. These are Google Earth things. You can see them from Earth. Now, from Google. If you don't believe it's true, well, it's fine for you. But if we look at the details, then we can make a decision. Just to say, oh, it's impossible and walk away. I don't do that. No, and then like I said, I would do the goose DNA test if somebody wants to do it. And then after we all finish up on that, we're going to get into the ancient texts and what it all means, my brothers, what it all means. All right, I'm sorry. Let me just continue on here.
Is not a fossil. It's something that looks like or is shaped like something that someone thinks is a fossil, but it's just a rock, typically a homogeneous rock with a lithology like limestone or sandstone. Now, and that's just a rock that's shaped like something. So it's not a fossil. Just like the triangular flakes that we see in the desert are not arrowheads, because you need to be an expert to determine if it's an arrowhead or a triangular piece of flint. Rex, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, and I want to say something real quick also. Earlier when we were talking to somebody about the mud fossils, and
No, he's talking about me earlier when we were talking about somebody. That's me, Roger Spur, the discoverer of mud fossils, Rex. Now, he's going to make statements that just aren't true. And I don't know why he's saying this. It's amazing.
and they were presenting these two rocks that look like lungs, but one was of granite and one was made of something completely different. That's when the communication barrier kind of disappeared, because as a geologist looking at something like that, Diamond's seen that basically and saying, seeing two different rocks. Explain that, Diamond. I want you to get into that, because that was important. That was an important point right there. When somebody makes a claim and you ask for some validation of that claim, and then there's no validation, but then changing of subjects, just look at it. But
That's not what I said, Rex. I showed you the DNA reports. I had anatomists look at it. I say just look at it. Yes, obviously look at it. That's my problem, is that there is no competency here in the range of anatomy and biology and chemistry and physiology and all the other things that, a geologist is taught the names of rocks. Basically, that's all. And then they say, this was sedimentary, this happened. Well, I disagree with all that. I disagree with geology 100%. And if I can't get to speak, and then I have statements like this, which is just false. And really, it's just a false statement, Rex. Let's listen to that statement again, because it's just not true whatsoever. And this is not right, Rex. I need to be able to stand up for myself against false statements.
Looking at something like that, Diamond's seen that basically and saying, seeing two different rocks. Explain that, Diamond. I want you to get into that, because that was important. That was an important point right there. When somebody makes a claim and you ask for some validation of that claim, and then there's no validation, but then changing of subjects, just look at it, but there's not any validation of claim. That's when things start to break down.
Yeah, clearly you could see when the picture was presented, because the presenter was trying to show lungs. So the one on the rock on the left was limestone or dolomite with a little bit of iron oxide staining that he was claiming was blood. And iron oxide is very typical in sedimentary rocks throughout geologic history. About every 400,000 years, there happens to be an iron oxide staining event on Earth, and we don't know why it's occurring. But recent activity and information shows that it's probably cosmically related. So sometimes
what
superflares are
what
occurring.
causes it? What creates
Oxidation has occurred from, that's rust. It's very simple. So you go Fe2O3 to Fe3O4. It's called oxidation, and it's called rusting. So when your paint gets chipped off your car and water hits it, it turns to rust. And the same thing was happening at a regular interval in geologic history. Every 400,000 years, there was a rust period where our environment, our atmosphere, was causing everything to rust. And that's an oxidation event. And it could be caused by anything, but we think it's this. No.
I can't dispute that every so often there's another catastrophe on Earth that causes this layer, which is a layer of red mud, which is the iron oxide layer. And I have that here as well. And I have a human footprint, and I have shown this in Triassic rock, which is the red bed, the gray clay, and the black cap. And I have a footprint right in the middle of that. So it was all wet at the same time. So all this Triassic rock thing about lasting millions of years was just not correct either. So these are the things I have to be able to show, and I will. I'm going to go through all of them, but not to have any understanding of all of the other things that make up matters.
No, blood. So here's the funny thing. Blood has iron in it. You're talking about sedimentary rocks on the planet. Now, bodily fluids in a human, how many pints of blood do you have? 8 pints? If you dump it out on the ground, it would barely saturate a square meter, which would be 100 billion trillionth of a percent of the Earth's surface. So it's completely nonsensical to think that blood would be in any sedimentary rock ever. And in fact, in archaeological terms, there has been no blood ever recovered from any archaeological site ever in my purview, ever in history. So because blood is a bodily fluid and it's organic, it decomposes from worms and microbiome in just a few years. And there's no evidence of blood in any fossils ever, infinity, ever in history of Earth. So it's not even part of science. So claiming that there's blood in rocks is complete.
You hear this? This is just absolute nonsense. Complete nonsense. And what I just showed you here is an exposed huge artery. He calls this sedimentary rock. This is not sedimentary rock. That is an artery right there, and it's blowing out blood. Now, when you say, oh, Roger, that can't be true. Look at the size of that thing. That's just huge. I say, well, guess what? Do you know what interstitium is? No, probably you don't. Because of my research, it was just discovered not that long ago. And here is interstitium, and guess where it's found? Let's see, there it is right there. That's interstitium. So is that. You see this? This is collagen. And this is the stuff, this is nothing more than this right here on the outside. Then you get below this layer, and then you get down deeper, and then you get into the basalt. But in this specific membrane layer, that's all this is a membrane. In that membrane layer, look at this. There it is right there. That's the mucosa, which is skin, mucosa, whatever you want. Underneath is all of the interstitium, which is these fluid-filled bags with these black balls that hold these little straps so that everything can flex and so forth. This is absolutely enormous. And my friend Tyson in Oregon has a site that is not quite this big of a creature, but it's a damn big creature. And his has membranes. Hold on, let's see. Hold on, let me get Tyson's stuff here. All right, this is from Tyson's site, and this is the membrane, and this is only the lower member of the part of the membrane. This is the little squiggly looking thing that's coming out of here. These are the ion channels that allow stuff to come in and out, and that's the membrane itself. And 6 feet above this is the upper layer. In between here, there's hydrophilic and hydrophobic particles to keep things in and out. And Tyson has found other membranes. Let me show you another membrane. Never mind, I'm not going to show all this stuff today. I'm just showing what a few things, and then I'm going to go into it deeply. So if you're that interested, stick around. If not, well, do whatever you're going to do. The rape of the mind. Psychology of thought control, menticide, and brainwashing. Menticide means when you work for somebody else's interest, like the academics, to keep them in power and losing your own ability to think. And that's what's happened. All right, these are tendons. When you get down to the very small ends of the tendons, you're down in here. You see these little blocks? They're these blocks. And then when you get down to the very bottom, you end up with the tiny little fibers, and those fibers keep going down, and then at the end of these fibers are those tendon balls, those little balls that lock things in. And I have some of those here too. They're like this. At the very end of that, there's one of these things, and that locks them in below so that you can pull against that tendon and it doesn't rip out of there. Now, these are the kind of, and they just go, oh, that's a concretion, that's just this and that. No, it's not. That is the tendon tip that comes out of there. I'll show you the anatomical. All right, this is the tendon ball. These are what they look like in the anatomical. They break right here, exactly right there. And these are the anchors, and the straps break right off. Oh, by the way, I just got a thing. I may not be doing anything, a show with Ra. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Just stay tuned. Who knows? We'll see what happens there. But it looks like we may not be doing something. I've been talking about it for quite a while now, but who knows? We'll see. All right, you saw the tendons, and that's what these tendons are. And at the end of each tendon fiber is a ball, and that's an anchor so that the tendon can do this. It's tension. It causes tension. Okay, my friends, I'm going to leave it at that. I think I've supported myself quite well with the evidence that supports the thing that I say. Now, if someone doesn't understand it or thinks I was not clear or says that I showed no evidence whatsoever, which I had that amazing that Rex would say that. I was just stunned. But anyway, let's try to all interact reasonably. That's all I can say. I'm going to leave it at that. It's probably only going to be me putting my stuff up on my YouTube channel for the foreseeable future. We'll see what happens. All right, I love you all. Happy New Year. Thank you to everyone.